Hey, I'm Angie.
And I am Aislinn.
And today we are making Food Hero granola.
Being a food hero is fun. Yeah.
As always, we're going to start off with hand washing. So just a reminder, all surfaces, warm water, soap, scrub for at least 20 seconds. Come on, Ace.
Let's go.
Okay, we are ready. Now, I have already preheated the oven to 325 degrees. The Food Hero recipe that we're going with today is skillet granola. And I do want to point out, because we're cooking with kids, we are going to follow the directions that are in the recipe notes, which actually instruct you on how to bake this recipe. I found with the skillet granola, sometimes the oil can pop up, and that can be kind of a danger when working with kids. So baking is where it's at today. All right, so we're going to start with some old-fashioned oats. Now, I get a lot of questions about the different types of oats. So these are regular old-fashioned oats. Some people wonder what the difference between those, steel-cut, and quick-cooking oats are. So steel-cut oats are from the whole oat groat. Actually, all of these types of oats I'm talking about are from the oat groat. But steel-cut oats have not been rolled. Old-fashioned oats have been steamed and rolled. And then the quick cooking oats have been cut into smaller pieces and steamed so that they can cook faster. We are using old-fashioned oats today. You would not want to use steel-cut oats in this recipe. So for this recipe, I'm recommending old-fashioned oats.
I have a joke about oats.
Go for it, dude.
How do oats send letters? Oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Good one. All right, so Aislenn's going to start out by putting 4 cups of oats, and I'll move the oats over here by you now.
And
4 cups of oats into the bowl. And 4 cups of our whole grain oats. That's one thing I forgot to mention earlier, whether you're talking about steel-cut oats, old-fashioned oats, or quick-cooking oats, they are all the whole grain because they contain the entire grain. They were not refined in the process. So, good to know there. We're going to need our whole grains for fiber to keep our digestive system functioning properly. All right, so next is honey, one of your favorite things in the world. Okay, and this recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of honey. So the other thing you're going to find with this Food Hero recipe is that it has much less sugar than some of your granolas that you will buy over the counter. That's because we're making it ourselves, and so we can control the ingredients that go in it. And so that's why I am kind of a big fan of preparing foods at home, because you can control the amount of certain ingredients that go in. And what I love too is we get our honey locally. So we buy it from one of the local farms, so it's super fresh.
This one?
Yes, so that's a tablespoon. It's going to be 3 tablespoons. And I got you a knife here in case you need the knife to scoop it out. So there you go, just right over there.
We eat a lot of honey because I eat a peanut butter and honey sandwich every day.
Aislinn likes her peanut butter and honey sandwiches. She makes them herself, so
I eat a lot of honey.
Okay. And while Aislinn's doing the honey, I also want to mention this recipe calls for powdered milk, and it is not necessary to the recipe. I don't often have powdered milk on hand, and I do find it kind of expensive, so I tried it long ago without it, and the recipe works out very fine. So feel free to skip the powdered milk. Again, another advantage of cooking at home is you can kind of make substitutions and alter the recipe for what you have. Okay, good job, Aislinn, and I'm going to put those in the sink because those are super sticky. Now, the next ingredient is vanilla.
Vanilla!
We also order our vanilla from a local lady who gets it from Mexico. Delightful. That is the best vanilla ever. So we're going to take 1 teaspoon of that vanilla. And I will say too, this is another way you can alter this recipe. Sometimes I actually use maple extract. I know this is big and full. I'll help you out. You can tell that we
love vanilla.
We bake a lot, so we have vanilla in a big container. But you can also use maple extract, almond extract, any type of extract that adds a flavor that you would like in this recipe. Any neutral oil is fine. We're just going to use canola oil today, and we're going to do 1/3 cup of canola oil. So Aislinn, you know how to get down at eye level for that, right? I'll let you go over here. Do you see the 1/3? Where is 1/3?
1/3.
Perfect. I'm going to let you pour 1/3 cup of canola oil. Measure that out.
Canola.
And again, this recipe actually has less fat than a lot of your granolas that you would buy at the store as well. Again, because we can control that. Wow, that looks pretty perfect. You want to go ahead and pour that in?
It has a few bubbles.
Yes, it does. And then our next ingredient is another place where you can have options depending on what you like. Now, it calls for sunflower seeds, a half cup of sunflower seeds, which I have here. But sometimes we actually use papitas or pumpkin seeds.
Papita.
And Aislinn really likes pecans, so sometimes we use pecans as well. So I'm going to give her her choice today of which one she wants to add. Which one do you want to add?
Both.
Oh, a little of both. Okay. So it's a half cup total. So she's going to combine those two. So you can put those in there.
Both.
Now, if you're going to use nuts and seeds in here, you want to make sure you get the raw ones. You don't want ones that are already roasted because they're going to roast while they're baking with the granola. So make sure in the recipe, if you're roasting it, that you use raw seeds or nuts. The other option is, and I often do this, is completely leaving out the nuts and the seeds when you make the granola in the oven and then adding them afterwards using nuts that are already toasted. That way, everyone in our family can kind of alter this granola to their preference. I have one daughter who doesn't like anything in them. Several of us who like everything, sunflowers, pumpkin seeds, pecans, cashews, macadamia nuts, whatever we have on hand. So that's another way you can kind of alter this recipe.
Is this how you wanted them? Like
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. It's perfectly fine. And just dump them in when you're done.
I'll do a little bit of
Now, if you want to toast your own nuts, which I recommend that you do toast them if you're going to do them separately for flavor if you have raw nuts, you will not believe the flavor difference between raw and toasted nuts. At 350 degrees, depending on the size of your nut, probably anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. You definitely want to keep an eye on the nuts when they're toasting in the oven. You will be able to smell them when they're done, but they can go from toasted to burnt pretty quickly. So another tip there, but amazing taste difference between raw and toasted. And again, we're using raw nuts because they will toast in the recipe while we're baking it.
Yummy.
Okay, awesome job. We are ready to mix now. Aislinn's gonna mix that. Now, last thing I want to add, this recipe also calls for dried fruit. Okay, read your recipe. This is key in this one. You do not add the dried fruit until after you are done baking this. I have taught many cooking classes where people throw everything in. Your fruit will burn by the time your granola is toasted. So the dried fruit does not get added until after you are done. And this recipe calls for raisins, but you could add any of your favorite dried fruits. You could use dried cranberries, dried apples, dried mangoes, anything that you prefer. All right, Aislinn's getting that stirred up nicely. When we bake it in the oven, you just need a sheet pan. I'm using parchment paper. Again, easy cleanup. All I have to do is throw this away and I don't even have to wash the pan afterwards. But you could do it without the parchment paper, would be completely fine. Either way works. All right, it looks like we're about ready, Ace.
Okay.
Okay, I am going to give it a final stir.
It's hard to get enough where healthy food is fun.
It's gonna cook for about 20 minutes, but we're going to only set the timer for 10 minutes the first time. And then we'll check it and then stir it around and then set it for an additional 10 minutes. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna get this in the oven. Guess what, Aislinn? We made some last night, right? So she's been waiting for this. She's ready to make her parfait. Okay, so here is the granola I made last night. And this one last night I did make without any of the nuts or seeds, just so we could add our own. Aislinn's got a little parfait here. She's gonna put some granola on top of that.
Can I put a few pecans?
Yes, you may. We've got fresh local berries in here that we were able to get this week, so that was super exciting for us. And
Yummy pecans.
And would you like to add some of the toasted coconut too?
Yes, I love toasted
I
coconut.
know you do. Here, this is just unsweetened shredded coconut. I actually toasted this in the oven at 350 for 5 minutes. This toasts really quickly. And again, this is unsweetened coconut. You will not believe the beautiful flavor that develops when you toast it on your own in the oven. So Aislinn really likes that.
I love pecans.
That is quite the parfait there, my friend. Also, I like to eat this just with milk and fruit as a breakfast cereal in the morning. And so this granola is an example of meal prep that you can do ahead of time that will carry you for several days. Sometimes I even double this recipe just so that we'll have extra because we all like it. So one of the tips I want to leave you with is really kind of plan ahead for breakfast and snack. Do some meal prep when you have extra time and it'll pay dividends later on.
You love my parfait?
I love your parfait. It looks like Aislinn's ready to eat. So we're going to let her do that. And we will see you next time.
Food here is fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.